So in this video, I want to talk about the anime known as The Strongest Tanks Labyrinth Raids, a tank with a rare 9999 resistance skill got kicked from the hero's party. Okay, that is... I know I always kind of have little jokes about these titles getting longer and longer, and then every time I do that, there's always someone online getting snarky, oh, it's such an overdone joke, no one cares. It's like, I don't care what you care. So, if you don't care about my fun joke about these titles getting long, then I don't care. So, this honestly is one of those where I saw actually a bit of controversy about it already, but not like in like a sense of like, oh, it's got some controversial like hot topic, other than I do feel like the slave thing's going to be brought up. But I saw some people comparing this to the Rising of the Shield Hero, and I can definitely see some similarities in the sense of the main protagonist is a shield bearing user and he is kind of been backhanded by the party, but I don't really see that very similar, because the Rising of the Shield Hero, technically there were 4 different individual parties used to level them up, and then they would come together to work together, and the Shield Hero was always looked at as the weakest, while same kind of thing here in some sense, but there are some differences as well. And I feel like it all comes down to the fact that people think because they're both shield users, that makes them identically the same. Now, this is a series that I just feel like it's much more of that. It's very chill, it's very relaxed. At the end of the day, if you want to watch a lot of animes every season and you just want something really chill and easy to slot in, then I recommend this anime for that. If it's just something you want really, really simple, it's action, adventure, fantasy. I do feel like there's a hint of romance in here, just based on even the first episode. So I definitely think it would fit that niche if that's what you're after. Now, apparently, based online, it is... the source material is the manga. I'm not sure about that, because I've seen some say that it's based on a, like other animes where they say, oh, it's based on a manga and it's actually based on a light novel. So I'm sort of iffy about that. But the thing is I can definitely see some small similarities, but then I could also argue that the Rise of the Shield Hero and this series have similarities to other animes when it comes to betrayal. Betrayal is a common trope that is used in different series, and betrayal is very common in power fantasies and isekais, where a main protagonist is part of a party and then ends up getting betrayed and they end up leaving, and it's generally sort of the main leader is the one that does the betraying, and everyone turns on them because they're either a support or not a strong DPS, or there's some hidden skill about them. It is a kind of a thing that's kind of used in a multitude of power fantasies and isekais. So I don't think it's really fair to sit there and just say, oh, this is like the Rise of the Shield Hero, copy paste. I think it's just because they're both shield users, instantly that gets used. But if that was the case, then again, we draw back to the whole argument when Slime and Spider first came out and people saying they were both copies of each other and the authors were friends. I just feel like Shield Hero fans need to chill a little bit, really need to chill. And I'm not hating on the series, because I enjoy the Rising of the Shield Hero for what it has to offer, and I've read the light novels, most of it, like 90% of it. I haven't gotten completely up to date, but I do feel like some isekai communities really just love attacking anything and using any excuse to justify their hate. I think this offers its own unique kind of spin to it, where it is a main protagonist that has a shield. He is able to use a sword, which is slightly different than how Shield Hero, because Shield Hero kind of does their weapon offensive kind of thing a little bit different, while this series does just allow him to use a shield directly, and his skills and the systems itself are a little bit functionally different. Though I will say, just based on the opening song, it does look like he builds a cast of girls that kind of surround him, while the opposing dude that booted him out is kind of surrounded by mostly dudes with a couple of chicks. It's one of those where I do feel like it's going to have some harem romance kind of aspect to it, even though it's not in the tags. But I just think it's just very chill. It's not something you're meant to take serious. It's just easygoing. You go into it and you enjoy it for what it has to offer, and the guy's kind of good-natured. There is kind of the whole slave kind of topic in there. I don't know how far that's going to go. The guy also does have a bit of a sister complex. I wouldn't say it's like romantic sister complex, it's more just protective sister complex. He's just very protective of her because of her illness and their past, which it delves into within the first 2 episodes of where they came from the slums and everything. And that's another thing, this is not an isekai. Nowhere is this an isekai. So there's a difference right there. It's not just some transported to an alternative world. He's been given these really overpowered skills. I don't really see him as being overpowered, but more of a just a strong tank. And one of the things that I kind of liked is how it had a couple of kind of game mechanics as well, which, yeah, Shield Hero has the game mechanics in it, but it's not as gamey as in a sense. But there are some interesting game skills, which is the whole, the more damage he takes with his defenses, the stronger his strength gets. Kind of reminds me of World of Warcraft. Again, I haven't played the game much in the recent days, but I remember back when shield or tanks used to become super overpowered because Blizzard added this in this mechanic where they were like, the more damage they took, the more their strength stat would build up, and so they would do heaps of AoE pulls, and then they do more damage than the DPS, and then DPS got upset because they're like, well, hey, the tank's doing more damage than me, and his role is meant to be taking damage, not dealing damage. Kind of reminds me of that a little bit. There's some interesting relationships between different characters. As I mentioned, there's clearly a bit of a romance going on between different characters. There's also the whole demon kind of aspect to it as well. So it has its own unique type of thing that it's trying to offer. I feel like the only similarities that you can draw from that is from the Rise of the Shield Hero is the fact that it is a shield user. People kind of treat shield users as weaker, but that's in even games as well. Like that isn't uncommon. Like even in like MMOs, a lot of people treat shield users or tanks as if like they're just beneath them, because DPS get this kind of like ego trip where they think, oh well, you know, they're the main star of the show. This is coming from someone that's played MMOs since the early days. I know how tanks get treated, and they don't get treated very well. So I feel like a lot of these stories that do that are kind of following the tropes that happen in MMOs. So that's why I kind of draw that correlation. It's the same with healers as well. Healers get treated like absolute trash as well, because DPS want things to go fast, and healers and tanks sometimes can't keep up, or sometimes tanks go too fast and the healers can't keep up, and vice versa. So I just think the story has its own sort of unique kind of spin, and the other last thing that is similar is the betrayal kind of aspect, but it's done very differently. It's more of like they've just kind of kicked him out and kind of been a bit of a douche, and that's it. I haven't seen the kind of same similarities of the sense of like everyone's turned on him because he has done some horrific crime. No, it's more just like, ha ha ha, you're weak, you're useless, you're not contributing, I'm going to take your weapon for payment, and you go off and do your own thing, and he's kind of just helping people as he goes along. There's little things that are similar, but you can do that with any anime where you could go, oh, this slight small thing is similar. The real main thing is the fact that they're both shield users, and I feel like that's just kind of like, really? Is that what you're going to base it on? Because there's a lot of isekais out there that do similar like Kirito style swords, but at the end of the day that doesn't really get brought up as much. So I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Have you watched the first 2 episodes? Again, as I said before, it is just very chill. Watch it if you really just want something else to add to your list of animes to watch, and you want something that's similar in this, but again, it's not an isekai. So I do like the fact that it's not trying to pretend to be an isekai, because there are a lot of power fantasies that will throw in the isekai thing, and it is the most irrelevant component, but they put it in there for the first 5 minutes just to get that tag off. I like the fact that the anime doesn't try to pretend to be that, so props to the anime. But I just will say it's going to be one of those where I'm like, it's probably one of those where I don't think people are just going to hate it. I think people will just be like, it's kind of just like mediocre kind of thing. It's not bad, it's not great, it's just a chill, easygoing adventure fantasy. So love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Of course, if you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.